Do you need to smell better naked?
Look, you just don't even want to see me naked, so
Is it lumpy? Is there just lumps everywhere?
it's bad. Especially recently, been eating all this great food. At some point in life, you reach a point where it's like, you know what? I'm just gonna eat whatever I want to eat because it don't matter anyway. I'm gonna die fat, but I'm gonna die happy.
I'm gonna die fat. Okay. This guy's asking about a sweet spot, a shop size sweet spot. Started my shop 17 years ago, and during that time I've thought, grow, grow, grow. Looking at the coming year, I'm thinking about the next steps to continue to grow, but I've begun to think about it a little differently over this past year. He also owns a gym, and the gym business is a sweet spot between size of the shop or the gym and membership, where the gym is very profitable, but still can maintain that one-on-one personal service.
Okay.
When you grow past that point, now you have to shift to a completely different business model, like a Gold's or a Planet Fitness or those type of things, and that counts on people paying for a membership but not showing up because there's just not enough room for all the members. If they were all to show up, there's just not enough equipment and stuff. So I'm curious to hear your thoughts on if there is a sweet spot for a shop size where you get the most out of it as an owner, but before you turn it into something else like a franchise, say a single location, 6,500 square feet, 6 techs, 2 locations. What do you guys think? What do you think?
I'm sure there is, right? And the reality is I don't have the experience to know. That's a good Doug Grills question, right? Is where's the sweet spot? If you recall,
he said it was. Didn't he say 5 shops?
Yeah, he
said
1.
3 to 5 was a nightmare.
3 to 5 was a nightmare, and then above 5 things started getting better. Yeah. But this guy's specifically asking like, hey, below that, I'm currently in this thing right now where I'm saying, man, I almost wish I'd have kept my 3 bays and just kept trucking along. Right. The problem is that it's very difficult to outrun the overhead that it takes to make the business profitable. Right. Like to get to that.
Yeah, but you're
point
talking
where,
about you're talking in a situation where you built this monstrosity of a shop and now you're having to pay for the monstrosity of a shop. But let's say he's leasing a building that's 6,500 square feet. Okay. Right? You want to have 2 lifts per tech. That's ideal, right?
Yep.
But I mean, like at the end of the day, the only number that really matters is how much revenue you're getting out of each individual technician, right?
Mm-hmm. Yep.
So 6 techs and they're doing 20,000 a piece. That's not that great. 6 techs and they're doing 40,000 a piece. Now you're making some money.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think the reality is you've got to look at it from a number standpoint, right? Like what is the amenity level you want to offer? Do you want to offer loaner cars? Do you want to offer, a warranty? Do you what are the things you're going to bring to the table and say that, hey, to offer that, my expense load is, right? And then I've got rent and I've got insurance and I've got to do this the right way. We talk about that all the time. We talk about, hey, going and starting a shop. Well, I've got insurance, right? But you got bare minimum coverage. You don't have enough to cover if something really happened. Well, no, my insurance man got it for me. Not that doesn't mean you're covered. Yeah. And so by the time you look at the right coverage, you have your rent expenses, you have your amenity expenses, you have all of the things like I want to make sure that I've got, good front of house staff and I'm going to have to pay them well because to have them to where they communicate and build relationships with people, that costs money. Right. And you put all those dollars down, you got to say, I have to be able to generate this much gross revenue, and that's going to leave me with this much net profit. I think that probably 5 to 6 bay shop as an independent small 1-store operator, that 5 to 6 is probably where the sweet spot is. Right.
Yeah. I don't know.
You just have to look at the numbers. Right.
Yeah, we have to look at the numbers. So, I agree. There is a threshold because if you get into say 10 bays or bigger, right?
Yep.
Now you have to start worrying about car count, and if you have to worry about car count, what are you going to do? You're going to try to appeal to a larger subset, right? you're going to try to get as many cars in the door, meaning that you have to then start stretching your standards as to what you will and will not take.
Absolutely.
So now you're taking in that 1989 Chevy pickup that you really have no business working on.
This.
Well, not necessarily. The quality doesn't have to go down, but you have to start appealing to people that you normally that ideally you shouldn't have to appeal to, because you just need the car in the door. And then it's not necessarily the quality that'll go down, but your ARO will start to come down.
Of course.
And you're not going to have
more
a
cars
$700 to $800 ARO is going to go out the window, and now you're going to be happy that you do have a $425 ARO because you're pumping tons of cars through the shop.
I still think that you end up with a quality problem. Right, the more cars you pump through the shop, the more chances of a quality problem. Like, for instance, my quality control process, it takes time. You're not going to be able to put that many cars through the shop because the quality control process takes time. And so if you get, you end up in a situation where quality,
that's just a staffing issue. Like, you just move.
Is it though? Because I mean, how are you gonna quality control in the pouring rain or in the snow and the wind's blowing 50 mile an hour? You might end up having to use a beta quality control. You got to have a space to do those things, right? Like there's aspects of that you have to think about. And I just think that at the end of the day, if you start putting more cars through a shop, I don't care what anybody says, quality has to go down, right? Quality has to go down. You start accepting technicians that don't meet the quality standards you had before because you got to be able to pay for the shop, right?
You've got to staff those bays, and now you're going to accept a lower quality of tech. That is 100% true. There's you're going to have a really difficult time to have of having all quote unquote A-level techs. Like, that's going to be
you can't have your cake and eat it too, right? Like I mean, and the logic is you got to pay for the building, right? One way or another, it's got to be paid
for the space.
You got to pay your bills.
Sure.
Yeah.
So, but it, like, 6 technicians is a lot of techs.
Mm-hmm.
That's 6 technicians. What, like, minimum 2 service advisors. Mm-hmm. What, 2 maybe QC people, right?
Yep.
And maybe a parts person at that point. So now your overhead just keeps ballooning.
Exactly.
And
that's what I'm saying. That's why I'm saying 5 to 6.
Bays though. You're saying 5 to 6 bays. Mm-hmm. Or you're saying techs.
And you should generally see, typically what we were at is I had a mid $100 labor rate, right? And so what we saw is that a technician should bill at a 1-to-1 ratio. Technician should bill right at that $1,900 to $2,000 a day number, right? And so 22 days, that's a little over $40,000,
$45,000 a month. Okay, that's running at 100%.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Okay, so that then becomes your marker then, because I think if you look at it from like a labor rate standpoint, like the more staff you have, the sheer dollar amount is going to increase in the benefits that you're going to have to offer these people in order to keep them on hand. Like, you want to be able to offer retirement and insurances and like ancillary benefits that are overwhelming, essentially creating golden handcuffs, right? Keeps them on board with you and with very little possibility of them leaving. Okay. So that's going to cost X amount of dollars.
Correct.
That's going to set your labor rate to a certain dollar amount. But if your amenities, like you're saying, if your amenities haven't gotten to that point where you can justify that cost, that price comfortably, well, now you're going to have to add those amenities, and that's going to end up costing even more, right? So now you're going to hit that dollar threshold that you need to hit, whatever that labor rate is. So, but aside from all that, I think you're right. $40,000 to $45,000 per tech.
Yep.
And if you're hitting those numbers, then 6 techs, he's doing $240,000 a month. I mean, at that point, damn, dude, like at that point, you're damn near $3 million a year. Yep. And what's that look like? Like 10 to 15% on the bottom line.
That's a bunch of money.
Yeah, you're bringing in almost $500,000 a year. Like, I don't know. Like, what else are you looking for? Like, damn.
Well, I mean, we've talked about that before. What's your desired outcome? What's your goal? Where are you trying to go? And so, I think
the way he asked the question though, he's like grow. I think he's just looking for a challenge.
Yeah. And at that point, like, the sky's the limit, right? I just know that if you're gonna go multiple stores, according to Doug Grills, you don't want to stop at 3 or 5 or anywhere in between, maybe 5, right? But you know, you here's the thing is that no matter what, the cost of operation balloons, as you've alluded to, right? As we grow the business, it's going to cost more to operate the business. As we put more techs in, that costs money, payroll tax, all of the things associated with it, you know, paying somebody to do your payroll and paying somebody to handle the bookkeeping. Each of those things costs money. And so I think as we begin to bring more and more into that, it is going to cost substantially more, right? Like, and I'm living that right now. We're into this new shop. There's a lot of cost associated with it that weren't associated with the other business. So you've got a reduced net until you get the business to a full optimized standard. And so for me, that's why in the old shop, and really what I hope to do with this shop is I want to optimize. Right? I'm not even necessarily worried about a specific number. It's that I want to see that we're optimizing it. And it's because that's my challenge. That's what I like. That's the challenge I love.
Yeah.
I'll be honest with you. If you're looking at auto repair as an investment, you're crazy. There's plenty of other places to invest. Like, go buy another kind of, like, there's a lot of work that goes into this. I personally believe that this business is for somebody who has a passion for it. If you don't have a passion for working on cars, you don't have a passion for owning an auto repair shop and serving the clients of an auto repair shop, I don't think this is a good business for investments. Could it be? Yeah, I guess so. But from where I sit, I don't think it's the right tool for that.
Yeah, you're 100% correct. You have to be into it. You have to, like, I want to own a repair shop.
Yeah.
And nothing else. Yeah. So get to 40 to 45,000 per tech, and at that point, then decide. Like, I don't know that I would. I guess if you want to have, but you have to make that decision there. Let's say he's at 40,000 per tech in his current location. He then needs to look at and say, I have to grow this past the 2 to 3 shops. Like, I got to get it to 5. But he's got to take that approach. Like, what systems and processes do I have now that I need to then that I can then duplicate reliably over and over and over again to have 5 locations to then get to that threshold. But even then, like Doug Grill said, the guy that, you know, builds the business and sells it for $125 million, and then he spends the next, you know, 6 years finding himself living off the land, grows a giant beard, and comes back and goes, what was the point of it all? Like,
absolutely.
All of the joy was in doing the work and building it. And once I've reached the pinnacle, it's like,
at the end of the day, I think that's the key, is we have to understand what it is that we're doing this for. Is it that I want to leave wealth for my family? Is it that I want to bring, you know, knowledge? Is it that I want to serve the community? What is it that I'm hoping to accomplish?
Yeah.
You know, and we tell people this all the time, right? Like, I guess you could buy a franchise and build an empire. You could go all Doug Grills on it, right? And you know, go multiple shops and have a whole fleet of employees, a enterprise type staff that helps you build this from the ground up. But you know, I would question, like, Doug has a very specific set of goals, has a very specific thing that he's trying to accomplish. And I don't think that we can honestly and accurately answer this person's question without understanding, what are you trying to accomplish?
He may not know. He probably does.
Right.
The guy who asked this question, I know we've talked to him before. He's a smart guy, like, extremely smart guy. He probably knows. But if he doesn't, that's probably the first step. Figure out what the hell he wants.
Absolutely.
All right.